Okay, on to the next project on the Hesston baler. Yep. John Deere. Anyway, these are grade 8 bolts. The bolts that were in here that are broken, this one here up top, and this one here that run the compressor on the boards, they were broken. They were broken at the threads. Now, I know that they need to be, I would rather have fine threaded bolts than the coarse threaded ones to put in there. The ones that were in there were grade 5s. Doesn't mean that grade 8 is better by any means, because if you don't know, grade 5 has more flexibility in it, and it can actually withstand more stress, looser fit stress. This is going to be more brittle. So I'm hoping that the quality of these bolts, which I don't know, they're not the same quality, obviously, they're by different manufacturers. This one says LE on it, and this one has an actual U on it, so they're two different manufacturers. I don't know what these bolts go into, but yeah, they are 1-inch bolts, and I'm going to stick them in there. I was going to do both sides, but I'm just going to have to keep my eye on it when I do get this baler up and running, because yeah, one side is going to be a grade 8, the other side is going to be the original 1-inch grade 5 bolt, and I'm hoping that everything goes okay. If not, well, such is life. Yeah, would you look at that? And I'm putting them in backwards from what the other ones were, just because I can. Hold on, we need a hammer. I'm actually quite surprised that it went in that easy, to be honest with you. Okay. The other issue with this is, and I believe it is that simple, that these bolts were not tightened down properly. And when I say not tightened down, I mean they weren't tightened down properly, because there's a space, an awful lot of space in there. When you have space for it to move a lot, that creates a flexibility, which creates a problem. And we don't like problems. So, I always tell the kids, don't put shit up above your head. You can't get hit in the head if it's below your head. But I don't follow my own advice sometimes. Okay. Now, if you look at this bolt right here, you can see that it was broke off a while. It was half broke a long time ago, right at the threads. And it was cocked to the side, and they bailed for quite some time. You can also see that it is a grade 5. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get a wrench on that, tighten it up, and we should be good. I'll have to go search for one. Alright, I didn't think anybody would actually want to... Oh my god, did I just screw that up? Well, not really. I didn't think anybody actually want to watch me just tighten up a bolt or two. So I'll talk about what is going on as I am doing this. I know these bolts are not the correct bolts. I was so kindly pointed out by Carl, which he's probably watching this, and that's good, because I knew that this would possibly be an issue when I bought them, but that was the only bolts that I could get my hands on. Is that the threads, I should have got a longer bolt, because
where the threads meet the shank of the bolt, it is the weak spot. Well, if these bolts for some reason loosen up, they are going to shatter at the threads also. So it's just the risk I'm willing to take. Now, I guess I'll be vigilant about them, and I will just put a wrench on them every once in a while and see what they're doing. There is a lot of stress and play on them, but as long as they are tight and the bushings are sandwiched between the flanges, they'll probably be just fine. I'm hoping that they'll be just fine. And with all the work that I'm putting into this baler, and I'll explain this a little later in the series, but this baler is really, I'm working on it so that it saves my ass for the year. I literally have to do every single acre that I farm over again, what I've done, and finish what I haven't done.
Okay, so I came around to the other side here, and you're probably not going to be able to see too much, but I put my wrench on that bolt there, and I put my wrench on that bolt there. That bolt there is right where it's supposed to be. It is tight, it's firm up against there. That is an original bolt, grade 5. This is also grade 5. You see, it is the original bolt. This one was ungodly loose. I put 2 turns on that, and I believe that's what has happened, is that they loosened up on the other side long before this side, and by loosening up, that gives it room to flex, because there's bushings in between there, and they need to be sandwiched tight against those bushings so that there's no play. But if they're not sandwiched tight, then it can work up and down and obviously become loose and break. So if you own one of these balers that has this style of compressor on the back, I would definitely say it's a good idea to check those bolts kind of frequently. I had a New Holland 2000 years ago, and I actually have video of that New Holland 2000 baler from the old VHS era, and I do have it. I'm going to put it up on YouTube. But that was the first problem that I had with the baler when I brought it home, was those bolts broke. They broke out. And I believe they were broken when I bought it. They were broken when I bought it. It was the second field that I baled, and the baler just wasn't right. And I obviously figured that out pretty quickly back then, and corrected the problem with new bolts. So that's what I've done here. So now I'm going to go on up to the top side, and because this baler has been outside, I'm just going to spray down the bill hooks and the knife arm rollers with WD-40. The reason I'm using WD-40 is because it's what I have on hand. I do have some PB Blaster, which is supposed to have a better catalyst in it than what WD-40 does, but this is what I'm using right now, and I will show you what I'm going to do when I get up here, because there's going to come a time in the next couple of days where I'm going to need to, well, ain't that something? I got a little, who's it there? There's going to come a time in the next couple of days where I'm going to need to actually take these apart, get them loose. If I get them loose now, see, on the bill hook ends, which you're not going to be able to see, but the bill hook ends, or the rollers on the bill hook, which you can see the bill hook down there, they are in there. Well, here, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to pull one of these up. Oh, no reason why I can't. I don't think they've ever even had these off, to be quite honest with you. I'm going to pull the pin out. This is very important that you don't lose that. Oh yeah. Probably not the smartest one to pull up because of its close proximity to other shit. And you don't really want to get your fingers in it because that shit hurts. Okay, so yeah, it's free. Okay, so right here, here's your bill hook roller, and you want to inspect these to make sure they don't have any flat spots on them. If you have flat spots on these, they don't roll properly, and the bill hook doesn't close fast enough, causing a major issue like bail breakage. The other thing, and boy, I wish I could give you a little more light, but right here is the ball on the knife arm. Okay, this one is really hung up. It's not free at all. So what you'll see where I'm going to squirt this stuff right in there. Okay, and all that's doing is that's going to creep into that ball area and free it up of rust. So I'm going to have to run this thing through a couple of cycles because it's just going to have to loosen up a little bit before I actually go to work in the field, hopefully this coming week. But everything seems really tight on here. See the rust? That's all rust. And that's not good. You don't want rust on your bill hooks because then it won't sweep the knife arm. The knife arm will not sweep the knot off of there clean. But it won't take long at all to get that where it needs to be. So yeah, so here we go on that one. I'm going to go ahead and put my pins back in. I know a lot of people are like, oh my god, look at that mess. But give me a second. I'll get that pin back in there where it belongs. And I'm going to spray every one of those knife arm balls or cam followers on the knife arm with WD-40. I have this awesome little thing here. So maybe you can see where I'm going to go with it. But get that one. And of course this one here. And I'm just going to soak them down because there's nothing wrong with them, but we don't want there to be a problem. So if I get them lubricated enough with this that it goes in and breaks down some of that rust, then I should be good. Here's another thing. These are pumps. You just hit these every once in a while and, you know, give it a couple of pumps of oil. It is oil, and that goes to the knotters and it lubricates the whole knotter rack. If you don't like your oiler, you can always change them with grease zerks. I prefer oil on a knotter over grease because oil will drip off and you won't have a problem with oil, or you won't have a problem with slipping knots because of lubrication getting on your knots. Drips off rather quickly if you put too much on. Grease, on the other hand, sticks to bill hooks. It doesn't come off very easily, and before too long you are very aggravatingly enough, you will become aggravated by what happens. You're gonna slip knots. You're gonna have all kinds of problems. So here's another little issue that if you don't know about these old balers is on the ends here there are rollers right there. Okay, and these are your twine tensioner rollers, and they are on a bushing. So what you want to do, you want to squirt these down with WD-40 because this thing has been up here. It has been on here for about, I don't know, 3-4 years. It hasn't ran. So what you want to do is you want to kind of soak the oil up in there for a little bit. Doesn't have to be a lot, but a little bit. And yeah, there you go. Now there's a lot of these little rollers on here. I can't get that. Oh, there it went. See, that easy. That one moved. It started to roll. So that little bit of WD-40, unbelievable how fast that worked. Here's the one that was stuck. So what I'll do is I'll get my brass hammer up here in a little bit, and I'm going to tap that one to loosen it up. But this one here is a little bit rusty also. So you just want to get that oil in there and get it broke free enough that it will roll freely. If these don't roll freely, what happens is you'll wear right through the roller, and then it'll start to cut the string, and you will have a little bit of a nightmare trying to figure out why your knotter isn't working or functioning properly. So yeah, it's very important that you make sure that these rollers all work. There are 2 of them on the needles. There's one on the top rack here on the top twine tensioner, and there is another roller on the bottom twine tensioner where I'm going to go right now and do the same thing. I'm going to squirt oil under there. So I'll meet you on the bottom side and we'll get on to that. All right. Okay. Oh. That one's stuck. That one's stuck. Not stuck. Not stuck. Stuck. Not stuck for long though. Interesting. All right.